Hey, good evening, Sister Rao. Good evening. I see you all coming. I'm just experimenting with some stuff here. Welcome to the 12-minute message. I am your friend and brother, spiritual architect, Willie Wade, and I want to thank you for joining me for the 12-minute message. I'm just checking some stuff on Facebook and YouTube to see how the new setup looks, and then we're going to get right into it. All right, all right. What are we doing? Okay. Thank you for joining me for. All right. The 12-minute message. I just got it, and good. Can you all hear us? We hope that you all can hear us. All right. Admit all. Okay. Admit all. Joining. All right. Welcome again to the 12-minute message. It is your friend and brother, spiritual architect Willie Wade, and we want to thank you for joining us for the 12-minute message, Sister Hodge and Sister Ralph and Sister Bradley, and we want to thank you, Sister Williams, all for joining us for the 12-minute message. We are hoping and praying that you are enjoying it. All right. That can get a little bit better, but we will get that down pat. Okay. So the 12-minute message this afternoon, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration, the fourth chapter of the book of Esther, the 13th and 14th verse. These words of Esther were reported to Mordecai, who sent back the following reply. Do not suppose that because you are in the king's palace, you are going to be the one Jew to escape. No, if you persist in remaining silent at such a time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another quarter. But both you and your father's whole family will perish. Who knows? That's a question. Perhaps you have come to the throne for such a time as this. So you know the story. Mordecai and Esther, and the word is put out to kill all of the Jews. And at the same time, the king sees Esther and, falls in love with her and makes her one of his queens to replace Queen Vashti. And Mordecai, her uncle, gets word of it and says, listen, you in a prime position, you in perfect position. You have the heir of power. This is your chance to speak truth to power. You can speak up. You can do something to better our situation and our condition and our circumstances. And Esther's reply is, listen, I got to worry about me. I have to take care of me. I have to focus on me and my family. And I have to, do what I need to do for me. And Mordecai gets the message and he sends a very striking message back to Esther. Listen, don't think just because you are where you are, that you have what you have, that you're going to be saved. And don't worry, if you do nothing to help us, don't worry. God will send somebody else to help us. We will be delivered, but don't think that means everything's going to be okay with you, because when it's found out, maybe worse will happen to you. He said, but who knows? Maybe God has you in the palace and brought you to the throne for such a time as this. I want to talk to you for a brief moment from the thought, a righteous risk has its own rewards. We want stuff, but we don't want to risk anything. Change, but we don't want to risk marching. We want deliverance, but we don't want to risk protesting. We want things to get better, but we won't risk our own life. We won't raise our own voice. Martin saw a world that was filled with injustice, racism, hatred, inequality. He had inherited that world. He was born into that world. But he could not leave the world the way it was when he got here. He could not leave his people the way they were when he got here. And so he risked his own life. He risked his own safety. Listen, he could have went to school, went to seminary. He was the son of a prominent preacher. He was on the fast track to be big time in all of the Baptist circles. And he could have just, sat back comfortably, took over his father's church, Ebenezer Baptist Church. Atlanta was a progressing city. And what he did for America, he could have did just for Atlanta and made Atlanta the first, the African-American capital of the world and been good. And there's been statues of him all over Atlanta. And he would have been comfortable. But he risked his comfort and faced chaos, calamity, and confusion. He risked the safety of his family. He risked in his last year the peace of preaching quietly in his sanctuary on Sunday. He risked something. Because see, when you make a risk for righteousness, you're not the only person to reap the reward. And because he made a risk, we were all rewarded. Just like because Esther took a risk, all of the Jews were rewarded with safety. And so if you want to gain something, you have to give something. You have to take a righteous risk. You have to risk losing it all to gain it all. Harriet Tubman risked her freedom to set other slaves free. Frederick Douglass risked being beaten and shot and killed to lift his voice as an abolitionist. He risked his own safety. Nobody who sits comfortably where they are will ever gain anything. This is one of Martin's most famous quotes, but least quoted thing. He says, the measure of a person isn't where they stand in times of peace, but where they stand in the times of chaos and confusion and turbulence. I may misquote it a little bit, but that's the general idea. If you want the world to be better, you have to risk something. If you want your church to be better, you have to risk something. If you want your children to be better, you have to risk something. If you want a better life for you and your children, your family, you have to risk something. If you want your relationship and your marriage or whatever you're into to be, if you want to be rewarded with it being fruitful and blessed and bountiful, you have to risk something. And you have to make a righteous risk where not just you reap the reward and benefits, but everybody around you reaps the rewards and benefits. Barack Obama risked being a senator for the rest of his life so that he could be president for 8 years. Kamala Harris risked being a senator for the rest of her life. So for the next 4 to 8 years, she can be a senator, be the vice president, of the United States, and then possibly the president of the United States. Righteous risk are their own rewards. And so in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who made the most righteous risk that we've known in the 20th century, and we are still reaping the rewards here long, and we will be long into the 21st century. Let's celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s life, not just this day, by making a righteous risk. Each and every day, risk our freedom, risk our safety, risk our comfort, risk our joy for the comfort, the joy, and the safety of somebody else. To the first responders and to the essential workers who go out every day and risk getting COVID-19 because you have to teach in schools, you have to police neighborhoods, those good policemen, because you have to be doctors and lawyers and nurses on the front line. Thank you. Thank you for taking the risk so that others could be saved. And so righteous risk has its own rewards. And remember, the greatest risk of all was taken on a Friday afternoon at Calvary, where Jesus not just risked it all, but paid it all, so that you and I could be rewarded with eternal life if we just believe and trust. And so, beloved, I challenge you. Don't just take a risk where only you reap the rewards, but take a risk that's righteous, that has its own rewards, and everybody reaps the rewards of your righteous risk. God bless you. Heaven smile on you. And please enjoy and celebrate with love the rest of this Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration as we set aside this day to celebrate his birthday. God bless you. Heaven smile on you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.